It's Sandy from Environmental Coffee House. And today I'm going to Facebook to read some comments on an article. And yesterday on the channel, our page in Facebook, it was definitely a day of articles on heat and what's happening all over the world. But as we publish things on heat and you publish on climate change, you get all the differing people, the differing opinions, and they can be sometimes nasty, sometimes nice. But this was an article from Japan Today, and it was called Temperature Soars to 41.1 Celsius, so what is it, 106, something like that, in Japan. And the article, I mean, they've really been hit, but so has Greece. A lot of people have been hit. It said, okay. So temperature soars, highest ever in Japan. Japan logged its highest ever temperature over 41 C on Monday as a deadly heat wave continued to grip wide areas of the country. The mercury hit 41.1 Celsius in Kumayaga, Saitama Prefecture near Tokyo at 2:16 p.m., eclipsing the previous record. Hello, Marcia. So, it was a good article, but the comments were really interesting, and I'm going to go through that when this guy started with this. First of all, a good comment came in. The problem is the rate of change. If the current projection simply rolls on, then we will be in pretty bad shape once we have a shortage of fresh water and we are stuck with disappearing harvests. Try to do something afterward. Too little, too late. Hi, Osama. He joined us. Ah, boy. So, too little, too late. As there's simply no longer enough wiggling space to try any number of policies. If the water and farm crisis are severe enough, then we would end up with a bona fide totalitarian system as a means to further clamp down on growing restiveness. I think he meant restlessness due to resource shortages. It will no longer be just a bunch of ICE agents taking away immigrant kids. By then, even anyone, I gotta hold this thing different. Even anyone with 100% valid paperwork and home board will not have much better security. That's Jonathan O, and he's with us. He does scheduling for Environmental Coffee House Facebook page, so he's a very integral part. And, the comments went on, but then there was a comment. Now I don't understand why somebody had said, how these comments just get messed up. This guy says, somebody had said, something about rubbish. So he started on this rant. I don't know what happened to the other comment. What do you mean rubbish? Are you saying that climate doesn't change? It may or may not be natural, but it is changing. I don't think there is anything we can do to change what already is. If we shut everything down that causes any pollution, do you think the earth would cool down in your lifetime? I bet not. Somebody else says, burn, baby, burn. And then the next commenter says, we may not be able to change what it already is, but we can slow the progression. I would rather live as if climate change is a problem and find out it's not, right? Than live through it's not a problem and find out it is. And she says the guy's name. Have you read any of the reports that conclude climate change is man-made, or do you simply subscribe to the denialists? And he gets all pissed off and he goes, Val, I don't need to review any reports to know the planet's getting hotter. There will always be controversy as to whether it is man-made or not. That is not what my post was about. If we're going to fry anyways, we might as well live as comfortably as possible until that time. Then he goes into, our group. Your group is so funny. You scream and scream, but I don't see a single one of you revert to riding bikes or horses. I don't see any of you turn the gas or electricity off that goes to your house. You demand we start using alternate power sources, but I'm asking, do you use any alternate power sources? And if not, why? What a turd. So he says, I believe man may be contributing to the climate change, but I don't believe it is totally man-made, caused by man alone. It's just exacerbated by man, right? I think you're a fool if you think there is anything we can do about, but watch what happens. And so the jury's out on that one. Being a fool, that is. Like I said before, we could stop everything we do that pollutes, and the climate is still going to continue to warm up until it reaches the point at which it causes the planet to cool down. So then the other person says, I mean, this was really, going back and forth. It's indicative of what is going on out there, this kind of conversation on our page, all over the comment sections of everywhere. Hi, Random Variable, who joined. Dale, I don't want to say the names. I'm not saying it's man alone. I'm saying man is contributing to the alarming rate at which climate is changing. The Earth has natural means of absorbing and processing naturally occurring carbon dioxide. The ocean normally absorbs 80 to 90%. However, large areas of the ocean are now acidic from too much carbon dioxide. If we stop pumping it out at such an incredible rate, the ocean will have the ability to stabilize, and yes, the change will slow. But you haven't answered my question. Have you read any of the scientific data, or do you simply accept that it's wrong? Well, good old meteorologist Nick Humphrey chimed in, which was great. He says, the fact that it is warming is human-caused as well as the speed. If not for human greenhouse gases, the planet would be near pre-industrial temperatures today, back in the 18th century, or even very gradually cooling further. Instead, the rate of change in temperature is 170 times that of the rate of change during the previous 10,000 years. Humans have done great harm, unfortunately. Hey, Hambone just pulled in. You gotta come over here. So then she says, I wonder, if your house was on fire, would you just watch and see what happens? And he writes, now she's not even with the other person, right? Sancho, she writes, environmental coffee house, wow. That is certainly a lame excuse to use while you continue to do as much damage as everyone else. Maybe you should quit harping on people like me that are trying as hard as they can to actually make a change, actually change things, jackass. I looked at his page. Complete not, okay? Not. A complete jackass is that person, right? So, and Val, he says, how could you not read it or hear about every time you turn around? That is, and here's the clincher, that is all the progressives talk about. You didn't answer my questions either. And so he goes, sad to know that civilization has just about killed this planet. Well, he's right on that, but he's being a real schmuck, isn't he? Come on over here. Don't go inside yet. Come here. Finish my rant. He says, finish my, okay. So sad to know that civilization is just about to kill the planet. If we turned off everything right now, how much change would we actually see in our lifetime? We're not going to see shit. I know that. And then he says, no, I would not. I would call, about the burning the house down, I would call the fire department and get their big earth-destroying vehicles out here to pull it out. So, and then he says, so are you telling me that you pulled off your gas and electricity? And then he was asking me, I said, he's beating people up, and I have a good page. We don't tolerate a lot of that bullshit. I'm sorry. We don't. I don't like rudeness. The guy said some good points, but he was a rude, arrogant little shit, and I didn't like him. I said, well, why are you beating people up who are trying to make changes? How do you know what's been done and planned here? You're very angry, rightfully so, but you're focusing the wrong way. Let's hear about what you and your others are doing to inspire others instead of beating them up. That's the climate we live in. So as the climate takes a shit, people are just becoming cutthroat, angry, and ugly. Marcia said, right, the lies are killing us in greater numbers day by day. Yeah, but this person, he says, well, okay, like anybody else, I have the same concerns about our world, and I do everything I can to shrink my carbon footprint. I am getting tired of being harped on by people that tell me how to live. Have I told anybody how to live? Although maybe we inspire them? Get the hell off my page then. You know, I'm in the mood today that I would like to give a good kick in the ass to anyone that messes with me. That's the way I feel today. And so I thought I'd read this because I thought this guy is just really, you know, he says they act as the, okay, those do tell me what a bad person I am. Who told him he was a bad person other than his manners? He has the bedside manner of a goddamn horse's ass. Those holier-than-thou types who in essence live the way I do. They act as though they are in the process of saving the planet. They use as much and as many resources as anybody else. And then he was talking about the Amish because I said it would be great to have a horse and buggy like my neighbors, right? Oh, look at that, a truck going up the hill. No wonder why the town put gravel up there. Pfft, I hope they're not going to make my street a thoroughfare. You know, it just would figure. And then it went down, and we had a whole lot of other people get on board with this. So I thought it was interesting because it is the sign of the times. And, you know, people have always argued and people have always been contentious. But now it just seems so much more vicious and ugly out there. And I have been victim. I mean, I have done it myself. And when I did it, I caught myself and I got rid of it. I did do something, you know, that I regretted on a video and I got rid of it. It was a comment I made. And I realized, you know, I can't be a hypocrite. And I can't say, hey, let's be civil, let's have decorum, let's be okay. And then everybody arguing. That's not what I want, discourse. But it's okay if people come back and say, well, I feel this way and that way. Then they, you know, the name calling starts. And it's rampant. It's just rampant. Am I naive? No, I see what's going on. There's just so much bullshit out there. Nobody knows how to think. Because, you know, oh, well, you're under controlled opposition if you think one way, and cognitive dissonance, and all of these things in these terms, and all of this stuff coming at us. It's like, sometimes you think, who doesn't want to just turn it all off? You know, who doesn't want to turn it all off? So that was an interesting, argument there. And the jet stream no longer having a temperature gradient with the warm Arctic is making weather patterns stall and letting, oh, the rain here, yeah. I'm sitting out here in the rain. You know, that reminds me, I wanted to go to Facebook and see if, you know, my shitty internet. Oh, by the way, I'm looking into something else. I have this little box and then I have this crappy, you know, no good internet. And I think if we're going to go to hell, if we're going to fall apart, I want good internet on my way out. And yeah, maybe I'm a hypocrite too. I am a hypocrite. I have never said I wasn't. I'm as big a hypocrite as you can get. I drive a pickup truck, for God's sakes. Give me an alternative that I can afford. Give us all a freaking alternative we can afford. Nobody's going to do that for us because anything that is an alternative is $70,000. So it's just a big freaking joke. And yeah, I'm on fire because I'm pissed off today about a whole bunch of shit. So I wanted to go and read one comment from YouTube, since I went and did this from Facebook, and then I'm going to let you all go because it's Mark and Mark J. You know, Mark is a prolific commenter on a lot of the YouTube channels, and I'm going to read this because he did it when I was reading the book by Peter Carter, Dr. Carter, Unprecedented Crime and Climate Science Denial, and saying that, you know, no matter what, we've got to fight, I feel, or you got to bring shit up. You got to stir the pot. You know, I can't sit back. Now today, I really was depressed after I watched Margot and I watched Paul Beckwith, and you know, Hambone just pulled in. I have no idea what his rants have been like. I haven't seen him all day. Sancho's running around the yard somewhere. That's a whole nother story I want to tell you about. But anyway, I'm going to read Mark. As someone who has spent a great deal of time in mines and caves, I know that it would be a miracle if 13 Thai boys and their coach were rescued from 2.5 miles into the earth. And I thought about the horrible death they would experience if they hadn't been rescued. Drowning, suffocation, or starvation in the dark aren't appealing options. Much of the world watched that event because fortunately some of humanity really does care about the fate of other people. And a miracle was performed by people who risked their own lives in the attempt to save the lives of others. So it's not difficult for me to have faith in humanity when I lack the level of courage and sacrifice that those rescuers had. And one of them lost his life. Those men, they could have stayed at home and said that the situation was hopeless. And that's precisely the reaction of many people in the doomosphere and that guy that I was reading on my Facebook, our Facebook page, to catastrophic climate change. It's hopeless. So just party on until the end. Find mentoring for beautiful young people indeed. And as for hopelessness, we have yet to see what humanity will do as the crisis deepens. People are at their best in crisis. Good for you, Sandy, for not giving up. Well, why should I give up? What's my alternative? I mean, I could sit back like that guy said, and I am having a big party. We're going to party like it's 1999. Maybe that is my effort. Maybe I am saying that. I don't feel like I am, though. Mark, then he keeps writing, it's hard to believe that so many people have allowed a life of comfort and entertainment with shelter and plenty of food in their bellies to dull their passion and sensibilities to the extent that they're not willing to do what they could easily do to mitigate global warming. It's worse than that. Some of them are actually cheering on collapse and human extinction as if this is going to be a great planet for other species after 450 nuclear power plants and 1,200 nuclear waste storage facilities melt down. I'll make a stretch here, but I think that a good psychologist would back me up. These people do not love themselves, and we haven't ever experienced deeply loving someone else. That's the extent to which life has degenerated in the richest country in the history of the world. This is Mark J., by the way. He said, property and money are the dominant values, so people are walking around asleep, unable to love themselves and others. Industrial civilization isn't to blame for collapse of the biosphere. Us walking around disconnected from one another and not even respectful of one another and living with a paucity of wisdom about what we really are, spiritual beings, are what's destroying the planet. One need only read YouTube and Facebook comments to see how appallingly unwise and mean-spirited people have become, immersed in their negative, ego-centered opinions which have no relationship to the truth. And who and what we really are, and which certainly do not contribute positive energy to what needs to be done. But some people are awakening out of their society-induced hypnosis all over the world. And that is reason enough to suggest, ouch, it's going to rain. Oh, I'm going to get wet. Oh, yes. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Where am I? Oh, but some people are awakening out of their society-induced hypnosis all over the world. And that's the reason enough to suggest that the future may not be a total loss, right? That's what Mark says. There is a possibility that something beautiful will rise out of the competitive, self-loathing, human-hating, all life-hating paradigms that we live in. Oh, my goodness. I messed this thing up. It is a lie to say that there is no hope of solving and surviving the greatest crisis that we face. It's a lie born out of our ignorance, among the worst of lies, because it disempowers people. We may well not meet the challenge, but we goddamn well have the responsibility to try. To those who think that there isn't anything we can do, well, you can stop eating meat, to name one thing, and that's Mark is a very... he's a vegan, and he understands and feels a lot about sentient beings. He says to those who think you stop eating meat, he says, and withdraw support from the global meat industrial complex, a climate destroyer right up there with the burning of fossil fuels. Chris Hedges did it. Spend a lot of time with some beautiful child, one not yet ruined by stupid adults. Love that child if you can. True love is not a four-letter word. And then tell me that it's too fucking late to do anything. Humans are an extraordinary species. We're damaged, and we're all damaged by lies, and ignorance doesn't change that. Defeat is not in the vocabulary of one who recognizes the divine in himself and others. It's in the vocabulary of ill-informed underlings. There are infinite possibilities in the quantum field, and humans are capable of manifesting any one of them. The greatest power that we have is the power of human intention, and people unified in the pursuit of a common goal, if it is loving goal, cannot be defeated. You know, that's like those intentional communities that are all getting together. Yeah, Sancho's here. That are all getting together, people getting together. And that's a fake deer, by the way. That's just some stupid thing that is a target practice thing. Mark wrote a long comment, but the greatest power we have is the power of human intention and people unified in the pursuit of a common goal. Myself, he says, I long for the wisdom of the masters. I long for empowered visionaries. Is there anyone out there who has a similar desire? I would like to hear from him or her, whining in the cynical depths of the doomosphere, which is a creative act in itself, albeit a negative one that only hastens our destruction, is not inspiring to him, to Mark, he says. We humans are not simply beings looking at creation. We are consciousness. Does the universe manifest consciousness, or does the universe arise out of consciousness? If one is prepared to do some serious reading, one can begin to answer that question, and a sense of a path forward will emerge. You know, he's some hell of a writer. And even when I'm in my worst, like today, you know, pissed off at the world, and I'm just so friggin' mad. And I'm going to tell you, I had found this little bird, and it was a little blackbird, and I'm not going to take you over there. I could take you over there, but if I take you over there, I'll probably cry. It's so stupid, but this little guy was hopping around the yard, and I was feeding it. I put water out for it, and I was going to catch it. A big blackbird, had an injured wing. The wing was broken. And I put it on Facebook on my page, you know, because I'm so sick of putting politics and shit up there. I'm just like, I've had it. I'm all getting to this, like, I've had it point of a lot of shit. So the bird was outside dead this morning, all the way up. And I really didn't have the heart to tell everybody on Facebook because everybody was asking me. They gave me all kinds of names. Yeah, I know it was a crow. I call it Blackbird. I actually named it Little Wing. And Little Wing was dead, and yesterday Hambone had said, well, if Sancho gets it, it's not my problem, it's not my fault, but I don't think it was Sancho. It didn't have any blood on it. It was turned upside down. I don't know. He was hopping around. He had a broken wing. He was so beautiful. And he was eating the food, and I had the names, but I was too late. So I didn't want to go out in the morning and see that because I really hated it. It made me feel bad. I wanted it to live. I thought it was rehabable, you know. And other than that, that's it. It's just, I just really, you know, I read all of these different feelings and attitudes about people. It helps me formulate my own worldview. That's how you get a worldview, is by the different worldviews that are around you, educating you. And I just have to work really hard at not being angry and being civil and understanding others' motivations myself, and not falling for that trap of being mad, you know, or finding some stupid thing that means nothing and festering on it, you know. All of us can do. And then not to, of course, on the page here, these are comments by real people. People are saying things, but we just really need just to be nice to each other. Who the hell knows what we got left? I'm not some, you know, spaced out hippie person. I'm just really thinking that, Jesus Christ, I'm so sick of the anger and the negativity, and especially in the United States. It just makes me never want to leave this little humble abode I'm so lucky and so blessed to have. Oh, Basil said they had 2 doves fly out of their nest today, and that's that. Yeah, I love seeing all the rabbits. I love making my little videos. I love having Sancho Panza here. I don't know, I'll go see where the adventures have led Hambone and Sancho today. And my old man is sleeping. It's a rainy day, so I'm leaving him alone. And so far, we've had a good time. So, peace, still having a party. Thank you. I don't mean to say just thanks for listening to this rant. Just makes me want to say let's try a little bit, to be nice to each other. And we go out in a blaze of glory, I guess, whenever it happens. Peace. Thanks for coming. Okay. Peace. Bye.